Okay, let's unpack this. Today we're doing a deep dive, focusing on just one source. It's an article from June 7th, 2025,
Right?
and it covers what seems like a pretty small event in Dongducheon, South Korea. A shared meal, basically, in an apartment complex.
Yeah, it's not simple.
But our mission today is, well, to take this seemingly quiet story and really dig into what it might tell us about, community, connection, maybe even what good leadership looks like now.
Mm-hmm.
You brought this piece to us, and I think exploring why something like neighbors sharing food can mean so much, especially when we often feel quite disconnected. That's really the goal here.
It really does seem like just a human interest piece when you first glance at it. But
Yeah.
the deeper you go, the more you see the article using this very local thing as a way to look at much bigger questions in society. Talks about who was there, the apartment rep, residents,
Right.
the mayor even.
Right.
And then it pivots to analyze what it all signifies.
And that's where it gets really fascinating, I think. We're not just recounting facts, what happened,
Yeah.
when. We're going into the article's argument about, like, the paradoxes of modern life, how formal systems sometimes fall short, and what genuine connection, maybe even real administration could be.
Exactly. So we'll probably set the scene first, like the article does.
Good idea. So where and when are we?
It's described as a Saturday afternoon, June 7th, 2025, and the place is the Bulyeong Ace Third Apartment Complex. That's in Dongducheon.
And the article paints a picture, right? It mentions, like, the smell of food, laughter. It was specifically called an elderly comfort meal.
Yeah, and what jumps out straight away is why it happened. The host was the apartment representative, Jeong Eui-kwon,
Okay.
and he paid for it all himself, out of his own pocket.
Wow. Okay. Did it say why?
Yes, he apparently said quite openly he wanted to bring back that feeling of warmth,
Mm.
sharing, like people used to in harder times. He felt it was missing, especially for the older residents.
Honoring the elders, trying to recapture that neighborly feeling. And the article mentions he seemed genuinely happy seeing them enjoy it, so not just duty.
It really seems that way. Yeah. And the residents' reactions back that up. It wasn't just about getting a free meal. The article quotes one older resident.
Yes, I remember that part. It was quite touching.
She said something like, it had been so long since neighbors actually gathered like that.
Right, and that the feeling of being together, the conversation, the laughter, that was actually more valuable than the food itself. Something along those lines.
That quote really nails the article's main point, I think.
Yeah.
The deep need isn't for charity or even just efficient services. It's for real relationships, connection.
It implies that our modern systems, even when they work well, can kind of miss that crucial human bit.
They often do. And the city mayor, Park Hyeong-deok, he was there too. But the article makes a point that he wasn't just, cutting a ribbon.
No, he was part of it, eating with people, chatting.
Exactly. And his comments afterwards reflected that. He said the real takeaway wasn't the food, but seeing the smiles on the elders' faces, feeling that warm community spirit.
He thanked the representative too, didn't he? Calling it the power of community they want to see more of.
Yeah. But it didn't stop there for the mayor. The article then describes him visiting someone who couldn't be at the meal.
Oh, right. The 103-year-old elder in Mongol nearby who was unwell.
That's the one. And this visit, the way it's written, feels very symbolic.
That's so.
Well, the elder was apparently quite frail, couldn't talk much, but she held the mayor's hand very tightly. The thanks were conveyed just through touch, silently.
Holding a hand. Wow, that's powerful in its simplicity. The mayor apparently reflected on that warmth, wishing her health and peace. It's a small gesture, but the article frames it as significant.
It ties into his bigger vision that the article mentions wanting Dongducheon to be a city where people genuinely care for each other, and where the city administration isn't some remote thing,
Yeah.
but is close to people's actual lives, trying to spread that kind of warmth.
Okay, so the article lays out these moments, the shared meal, the hand-holding visit, simple acts of connection, and then it uses these to analyze the bigger picture.
Exactly. It steps back and asks, what does this tell us? And one of the first things it points out is that paradox of modern living,
You mean being physically crammed together in apartments?
but feeling miles apart emotionally,
Wow.
not knowing the person you share a wall with.
It's so true, isn't it? And the article seems critical of the idea that just having efficient welfare systems is enough.
Right. It says those systems can deliver services, sure, but they often lack that essential human warmth. They can't really connect people in the same way.
Which brings it back to Mr. Jeong, the apartment representative, and his meal. The article sees his act not just as kindness, but as a kind of voluntary effort to mend those broken ties.
Yes, like he was trying to fill a gap that even good systems can't fill, that need for human connection, for like emotional solidarity.
Mm.
And that resident's quote about the connection being more precious, that perfectly illustrates it.
It really challenges what we mean by support. Is it just practical help, or is presence just as important? And the way the article looks at the mayor's role is interesting, too. He's not shown as the big leader making speeches.
No, not at all. It uses the Korean phrase, "gage," a participant, and a listener, quietly present.
Right.
And that visit to the 103-year-old reinforces it. The key moment was the holding hands, that quiet connection, not some policy announcement.
So this leads the article towards a different concept of, what was the phrase, real field
It
administration.
just is her. Yeah. And it's not about top-down directives from City Hall.
Okay, so what is it then, according to the article?
It suggests it's more like a partnership. From the bottom up, it means the administration actively looks for these positive, spontaneous things citizens are already doing, like the shared meal.
And then,
And then they kind of stand alongside them. They listen, they learn from what people are doing on the ground, and they quietly help those efforts spread instead of imposing solutions.
huh. So the most effective government might be the one that sort of enables good things to happen rather than trying to do everything itself. Maybe even seems like it's doing less, visibly.
That's the provocative idea it puts forward. It's quite a shift in perspective.
It really is. And the article is realistic, right? It doesn't say one meal solves deep-seated problems like isolation or distrust.
No, it acknowledges those are complex, but it holds up this event as a clue.
A clue suggesting that healing that disconnection, maybe it doesn't always start with huge plans or budgets.
And maybe it starts with simple things, like actually facing your neighbors, sharing some food, making a basic human connection.
Which brings us right to those final questions the article poses almost directly to the reader.
Yeah, is your community well?
And maybe even more pointedly for officials, is your administration properly asking about its well-being?
Simple questions, but they hit differently after reading this story, don't they?
They really do. It shifts the focus from abstract ideas about community back to, well, actual people and how they're feeling, how they're connecting or not connecting.
Exactly.
So, wrapping this up, what's the big takeaway from this deep dive into just one article? For me, it shows how a seemingly minor event, a meal, a visit, can actually hold up a mirror to some pretty major modern challenges.
It's a reminder that underneath all the systems and efficiencies we build, that fundamental human need for connection, for belonging, it's still right there.
Yeah.
And it's vital.
And it offers this really interesting alternative view of leadership, too. Maybe the best way to lead isn't always from the front.
Maybe it's about standing with people, listening, and helping amplify the good they're already trying to do. Enabling, not just directing.
Yeah. So this story wasn't just, local man does nice thing. It was an analysis pointing towards the edges of what bureaucracy can do and that constant human search for real community.
And it leaves us, and hopefully leaves you listening, with that lingering question the article posed.
Right. In your own life, your own neighborhood. Are you really thinking about the well-being of your community in terms of connection, not just, say, services or infrastructure?
And maybe even more practically,
Yeah.
what small thing, what seemingly insignificant act could you do? What could be a starting point for rebuilding some of those bonds right where you live?
Definitely something to mull over.